see we can prepare. And to be certain, please note that I hope you found your way here because it was quite a challenge. Beyond this point, first off, thank you, Victoria. Thank you. What is his name, already? Daniel, for inviting us today and to be able to exchange great ideas together. Number one, I'm very pleased to be able to present you our three lads. We are trying to do great stuff to reduce carbon footprint, make something sustainable in a planet which is apparently heating, especially in this month of October. So, number one, I will allow my dear friend to present himself, coming from Slovenia.
Yeah, it's work better if it's turned on. Yeah, that's correct. Hello, everybody. My name is Gregor Novak. I'm coming from Suncontract, first worldwide peer-to-peer energy marketplace. We are on the market already 5 years. We are kind of special energy provider using blockchain and enable peer-to-peer tradings without intermediates.
Thank you a lot. And we have a dear lad coming from Switzerland.
Hi, my name is Andres from the Codos Foundation, and I ask myself everyday questions as how we can make a token economy that is not Ponzi schemed, that we can still reward people with a token that is valuable.
And then we have Norwa, if I'm not misguided, from UNICEF.
Hi everyone. This is Nara Zurutuza, CTO for Giga UNICEF, and the lead for the tech center that we just launched here in Barcelona. And a bit of background, because some people might be surprised of having UNICEF here. Giga is a partnership between UNICEF and ITU to connect every school in the world to the internet. And for that, we leverage both technology and blockchain.
Thank you a lot. I'm Yves Michel. I'm working for Neurochain, and we try to, for instance, build some logistics system to improve traceability tracking and reduce it, observed so far by about 30%. And it's just a start. So as you can see here, we have real practitioners, people who are makers, not something like when Moon, when Lambo. So great moment. And the second point of interest is that most of the time, when you look at the TV shows, specialists and so on, they speak about GHG, CDB, SBTI. I think they are trying to reinvent the alphabet. What we try to do today is actually to present you what the real topic is and how we concretely challenge the CO2 impact. So number one, the big point is how does a blockchain, which is considered to be burning planet, only Bitcoin right now, trust me, how can we actually use blockchain technology to harness and enhance transparency on one side and the accountability of CO2 footprint on the other side, for instance?
Yes, this is actually a great topic and great needs. We know that we need renewables, we need to going down with CO2 emissions. And yes, everybody would say, yes, blockchain is using also the energy for that reason. But of course, if we do blockchain on the proper way, let's say if we do like Ethereum now or some other blockchains which are not energy consuming a lot, but blockchain can bring really something new. It means brings a new business models. These business models where we can enable people, they used to be not able to be enabled. Let's say especially in the renewable energy sector, where we can enable people to come to the sector so they can install solar power plants, they can use the energy, and we can manage that these people who are producing and consuming energy can meet each other, can trade each other, and of course, we need trust. We can do it, even in one country, usually trust is a problem. And transparency. In energy, I can tell you there is no transparency. You don't know from where your energy is coming from. And we actually, we change this with niche that you know exactly from which provider and from which type, what energy you are using. And even more, you can even decide the price for this energy and you do peer-to-peer. So this was actually able with technology, which is blockchain, which brings us trust and transparency in this behalf.
Thank you a lot. And trust me, being in Germany or in France, all the big tech is trying to prove they are green energy. So it's a real current topic. Second, in UNICEF Giga, how do you actually put accountable the CO2 footprint?
Sure. You talked about the energy sector, but the telco sector, it also lacks a bit of transparency, and it's a sector where Oftentimes we don't know what's happening. Telcos get contracts to connect schools or other public institutions, but then these public entities don't have a way to know whether the money they are investing is actually being delivered and whether connectivity is being delivered. One of the things that Giga is doing, it's first of all mapping every school in the world. This may sound maybe simple, but the truth is that we don't know how many schools there are in the world. We believe that there are around 6 million schools in the world, but we don't know for sure. So the first thing that we do is to map schools in the world, map their connectivity status in real time, know what's their quality of service, and put that on chain so that we know what was their status in a moment of time, and then use that to better manage contracts and increase transparency. So we are matching this data that we are gathering against contracts that governments issue to make sure that the service level agreements and the terms in the contract are being met. And then we can use, again, eventually smart contracts to automate payments based on performance. If you see that the school is connected, then the payment can go through. Whereas if you see that connectivity is not working in a school, then the payment can be put on hold until connectivity is put back to make sure that the money that we are investing is really reaching the hardest to reach schools.
So in other words, it goes beyond money control. Bank beware. Beyond that point, actually, we have a third sector which is represented thanks to transportation and commuting. How do you actually control or even make statement of what is the current CO2 footprint, and how do you prove your approach that you encourage really reduces CO2 or any equivalent?
I mean, just to say that, as my colleague said, there is a lot of applications for blockchain, and the idea that blockchain equals CO2 creation rather than saving just comes from this proof of work, which I think was great that Bitcoin started the whole blockchain space in that way, but I think it's clear that we are moving away from that. And using blockchain has so many applications, and it's just exciting to see what can develop. And one thing that we are developing at Codos Foundation is rewarding users for commuting sustainably. And it's just crazy how much of the world actually commutes by car, and so many of them use a car for one person. It's actually 5%, more than 5% of CO2 emissions globally come just from car commuting. So what we're trying to do at Codos is by rewarding users to use sustainable ways of transportation to shift from car commuting to train, bike, walking. And just we're trying to find a threshold of where is enough for people to make that transition, right? Because somehow there is an inherited feeling in everyone that when you get something for free or for very little effort, it doesn't have to be huge, but you still make the effort. And if the effort is just taking a few more minutes driving on a train rather than on your car, and you have a community to back that up where your friends see, oh, you're making an effort, he's making an effort, it can really spread and be like sustainable commuting can become sexy. And through that awareness of CO2, like of knowing how much CO2 you would spend if you're commuting by car as opposed to another mean of transportation, that can make a big change. So there's the tangible part of I changed from car to train, for example, and that you can quantify. And there is an intangible part of now that I'm aware of CO2 emissions and I have it more in my mind, then I will make a bigger effort in other aspects of my life and I will become interested about this. So it's really about bringing awareness to everyone.
So basically, if you take just a wonderful Google map, you have two choices this morning. Either you take the subway, either you take the cab. Trust me, same time for both. But it's maybe the single city on Earth you see it.
I took the e-bike, by the way.
Let's go to the next step, if you don't mind. Because you say, well, we could at least reduce CO2 footprint, but how do you promote, thanks to your activity, renewable energy creation, for instance?
Actually, what we do, we promote self-sustainability. People, if they're sustainable, even the household, the companies, we actually the goal is there. So, and we actually, Suncontract actually enabled the tools that people can manage their sustainability. So, for example, they can install solar power plant, they can use energy, and exit of power, they can move to another part of the country. Even next year will be another country, and use this energy there. Of course, renewable energy only. We have only renewables on the platform. This is, let's say, one example. Second example, the companies which are now really under pressure because of the high energy prices, they would like to hedge. They would like to hedge their energy at least for, let's say, half of the portfolio they are buying, because they are already dependent on the energy prices for the product and their competitors, I mean, the competition they have. So actually, we enable them. They do, let's say, long-term contract on our platforms with some renewable energy providers, hydro, solar, cogeneration, and they do peer-to-peer with them for, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years, and they hedge the production. They agree directly with these producers, and of course they save some money, and they know predictions what the energy price will be. The rest they go to the spot market. So we actually enable them. They do peer-to-peer with other producers, or they can enter to the spot market. Maybe for your introduction, if you're not for energy sector, you as a company or you as a household, you cannot go to the energy exchange. Energy is totally different. So it's the energy exchange. There is just a few hundred of companies in Europe Union that can go to European energy exchange, let's say in Leipzig. So this is, we enable them. They come to energy exchange. They can enable, or they do with other peers. They do, so they're hedging. So it means we enable these companies to be more self-sufficient, and they can have control the costs. And then everything is done, and also the savings they are doing are done by renewables. So actually, we convert them to be self-sufficient. This is our aim. We are not an energy, let's say, classical provider who are selling energy, but we are actually, our mission is to convert our customers to be self-sufficient. If more customers is self-sufficient, community is more self-sufficient, and also the planet is more self-sufficient.
Thank you. And for the record, I've been working, Lucky Boy, I've been working with utilities. And systematically here, yes, but it's just cryptos, you don't see the engineering, the voltage and the amperes and all this stuff is going to explode. No, technical tools exist, number one. Number two, when you work as a utility provider for electricity, trust me, you are not working alone. You work with literally thousands of small producers. So it exists, it's daily routine. And just for the country of France, for a big utility, the average was 9,612 people with whom you have to work, each plant. So it's feasible. And right now they spend millions, literally, to try to monitor it and make it stable. But what would be interesting is what do they do by Codos to actually promote renewable energy usage?
I mean, our approach is really centered on this commuting part. Of course, it's not the whole of the problem in CO2, but we cannot tackle everything at the same time. And then here the idea is, as I said before, rewarding the users for sustainable commuting. And then in order to, we use blockchain two ways, right? One way is the blockchain gave us the infrastructure out of the box almost to create all these complicated transactions, right? So you can make a token and you solve the problem of how to transact with that token without, I don't know, for anybody that is not very technical, it sounds like very easy. I send you 5 of whatever and you just receive it. But how do I verify that I'm not sending you 5 and Gregor 5 and Naroa 5 without, and I only have 5, right? 5 tokens of something. So that gets solved by blockchain, and that's really cool. And then we use that to create a token economy. And then, of course, we need to monetize it in order to not have just a Ponzi scheme token as so many other tokens.
So actually, you have the humility to say, well, we are doing commuting, we are not doing everything.
Yes, that's our, let's say, starting point.
Yeah, you're an enabler for that. Congratulations. And what do you do by Giga?
Well, as Andre said earlier, we believe that free things don't last over time. So at Giga, we are building an economy and a sustainable model for connectivity so that it can last over time. We are building this marketplace similar to carbon credits, but for connectivity, where the goal is to incentivize providers to go to remote areas or to places that wouldn't be as attractive otherwise. Depending on how difficult it is to connect a school, depending on the impact by connecting that school, providers will be rewarded by a number of tokens, and then they'll be able to redeem these tokens for tax exemptions, tax breaks, cheaper access to spectrum, access to shared infrastructure, etc. And through that, we are promoting this access through the entire globe. Another important thing is that to connect or to bring internet to anywhere, basically you need electricity and you need energy. Without electricity, there is no internet. So at the same time as connecting schools, we are also bringing electricity to many communities and many schools. And when doing that, we are also promoting the green energy and solar energy. So basically, internet also has a carbon footprint, and through this marketplace, similar to carbon credits, we are also incentivizing good behavior. If a provider connects a school using green energy, then the reward will be greater than if they are using a generator or electrical grid or other types of energy. So through that, we are also trying to minimize the carbon footprint and the impact that we'll be making in the environment by connecting schools.
That's absolutely amazing. Do you want to add something?
Well, yeah, not to this point, yeah.
Okay. Because something that's really interesting, the more I hear Codos speaking, the more I see that we need to build new business models and to innovate. We can't stand the fact that we have to create the same kind of product again, year to year. The point is that the more you try to stick to the old models, that is when Lambo, when Moon, buy you my NFTs, trust me, the first time I tried to sell NFTs to people, well, I was able to give it, but it was not as easy to find on the other side for plenty of reasons. So right now, how do you actually create some new business model in UNICEF?
We're looking into different ways for doing that. Maybe I'll focus on the ones that are blockchain-centric. We have more than that. You talked about NFTs. A while ago, over a year ago, we launched, I believe it was the largest UN NFT collection, 1,000 NFTs that would represent our data and schools in the world. It was kind of like a snapshot of the status of the school connectivity at that moment in time. Each NFT had a set of schools. Some schools were not connected and they were in another part of the world based on whether they were connected or not. And through that, we were able to raise, at that time, over 700,000 USD. That then helped, of course, fund school connectivity. We are now shifting, also because I think the NFT trend has also shifted a little bit. We are now building and launching our new collection. This time it's not going to be for fundraising, but for creating the largest decentralized school database, where we'll be able to crowdsource this data, and the public and the crowd will be able to maintain this public, digital public good that will be accessible to anyone. Then that can be linked to access to funds. Schools will be able to own these NFTs, and through that access and different types of funds, also exchange value through that. And maybe the last thing, that an experiment that we did also last year, we had a couple of nodes, staking nodes, and then the rewards from this staking would go towards school connectivity, towards these monthly fees that the schools have to pay. And in that way, you can have this sustainable way of paying for school connectivity over time. I mean, this vision of decentralized physical infrastructure where each school could be running its own node, and through that, they'd be able to sustain and pay for their connectivity over time without necessarily having to fund that publicly.
How do you actually transform the way to commute on an innovative way by Codos?
On a what, sorry?
Innovative way.
Yeah, so I think what is interesting about Codos is that there are so many business possibilities regarding this idea of rewarding users, because that's what the user gets. They download the app, they get rewarded, they go sustainably to work. But how do you make a business out of that? And if you think about it, like the simplest thing that comes to me now is your car insurance. I have a car, I take the train every day to work, and then of course my car insurance will be very happy that I'm not using my car during the week. And that's just one thing. So there you could monetize the data of the people going to work with the train or with the bus or with the bike. And then there is the aspect of companies. You know, maybe a company wants to motivate their employees to go sustainably to work, so they could actually make extra rewards for them, or they could make a competition like who bikes more to work. I used to have that at my previous university. We had a big pot for whoever would bike to work the most, and it was all honor-based, how much you were biking to work. And of course, we have machine learning algorithms checking that what you're saying you're doing, you're actually doing. So that's just another way. And there's really countless ways. Like, you can have the governments support the project. You can have companies that are interested in ESG, like say support, say 1,000 kilometers of sustainable commute. And then in a way, they could be offsetting all of their employees' commutes to work, regardless of whether they're going by car or by train, by supporting other people that are commuting sustainably. So instead of like CO2 bonds, it's like sustainable commutes to work.
Please note that right now in Europe, at least, if you are an employer, you do not have a metric saying what is the global CO2 footprint for all your company, but you have to put targets per employee specifically so that it reduces. And this is also why, if you have those wonderful ESG that is absolutely mandatory for every citizen who have a company above 50 people, to show, okay, now reduce commute, favor, work from home. So the question is, today, when you have all this additional electricity consumption, because it was before, I would say, generalized in one office, you can see the bill. Now you have to multiply it, multiply the coffee machine, very important one for French, trust me, and multiply the Teams meeting or with the wonderful stuff of metaverse. How do you actually turn your business into innovation?
Always looking how we can, let's say, solve some problems to our customers, to the people. We are coming from this. Maybe other energy companies, they are looking a little bit from the grid perspective, but we are looking from the customer perspective. And our next innovation, which is coming out in the Q1 next year, is actually we are going to issue NFTs for the solar panels. What is going to be done? Real solar panels, which are already in operation, will tokenize each of them, and you, everybody, will be able to buy these solar panels and have their own personal power plant. So you can build your own personal power plant, like you maybe all remember what Microsoft said, personal computer, 30 years ago. It was not possible. Who will have personal computer? These are just university factories, whatever have. But now everybody has a personal computer in their pocket. This we are doing with the solar power plants. So that you will be able to buy solar power plants, whatever is 1 panel, 10 panels, 1,000 panels for one country, 2 countries, you put on your virtual power plants and you use energy, because I told you before, we have peer-to-peer infrastructure which is working. You use energy, or if you don't need this energy, you can sell on the marketplace. An advantage, of course, also for the energy crisis, actually, in this way, that you can sell on a higher price. So, but you actually, in the same time, you are supporting renewables, you're supporting self-sufficiency, and also the reduction of the carbon CO2 emissions, so on. So that our aim is that you enable, you can buy, and we will also have a marketplace. So where you will be able to also sell these solar power plants, I mean the NFTs, which is represented the panels, so that you are also that the solar power plants become also liquid. It means now solar power plants is like real estate. It's not liquid, it becomes liquid by that. So this is actually that you can, for example, that I'm equating so that you have your own production, you can bring it, you share with your families, you share with your companies, you sell it, or even you bring it with you and let's say fulfill your electrical cars. Of course, this is not yet possible where it's not the electrical charger is not Suncontract enabled, but in the future it will be more and more of those enabled. So it means you actually bring your solar power plants with you, even if it stays somewhere. doesn't matter. Virtually, you are bringing with you. And this is, we know how to do it, we already have it, and we launch it this in next year. So, and everybody will be able to buy NFTs, but the tokenization will be able to do just in countries where Suncontract is present because of the all electricity regulations, all we need to fulfill. But everybody can be able to buy this and let's say benefit from this business model. So this we see innovation. Next step, patched solar panels with NFTs together with the real asset. That's it. Something new also for the blockchain industry, or something good that we have some concrete business models which are backed with concrete, let's say, assets behind.
So long story short, what is really interesting is that something, I think it was in 2008, a company called Solar Chain tried to create it like sharing locally bio, vegan, without gluten electricity. And the point is that right now what we see is that we transform a liability, electric consumption, into an asset. And without blockchain, you can't. That's really interesting. And the big point here is that systematically, when you want to reduce CO2, you number one want to measure what is current state. Plenty of companies do it today. You have Greenly, Swipe, Persephone, or even GreenEVT. You have all these companies right now on the market. So big point is that if you had to choose only one and then it's going to be finished, what would be the single challenge, most important one you have to face right now for your businesses?
Yeah, actually, somebody can offer the whole picture, the whole service, because this is the most important. Let's say if you're talking about energy, you know, in energy sector, if you're a provider, they can immediately close you if you're not fulfill all requirements. So you have to have knowledge and business models on blockchain, and in the other part, you need to also fulfill all requirements from the energy sector, which is actually pretty hard. And we did this together. So if somebody shows me this, they have those together, then I confirm.
I would go in the same direction. I come up with many ideas of how we can have our token work, and then it's always the question, okay, but we need to check with legal. So that's a tough one.
Of course, regulation, but maybe to add to that, it's that our users are usually risk-averse. We work with governments all over the world, and they tend to be risk-averse. So how do we introduce a new technology in a way that they don't feel scared? Today here you talk about blockchain and people get excited. You talk about blockchain or you mention the word blockchain to governments and they get scared. So something that we learned is that a blockchain should be underlain, and that these users shouldn't almost not even know whether we are using blockchain or not. They should just see the value on the products, the applications, and the tools that we are building, so that eventually they adopt the technology because they find value in it.
Thank you a lot. So basically, the key point is that blockchain turns to become a commodity to really host real use cases. Point is, if you want to speak to the dear speakers after this meeting, please join, because I definitely believe there are plenty of things to learn and lesson learned over the past years. For me, it was a pleasure to host you. Please enjoy the rest of your day.